Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Izzy Cinematic Escape on YouTube. I'm your host Izzy. For anyone who is new to the channel that's happened to find this review or any of my reviews through the search engine, feel free to hit the subscribe button below, and I hope you guys to continue to enjoy my work, and the same who is, and then ones who aren't new to my work, thank you, and I hope you guys continue to spread the word as well. This review is based off Justice League, the ensemble superhero film that has The Flash, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Aquaman, Batman, Superman all coming together to battle Steppenwolf and the Parademons in order to prevent him from unleashing his own version of Armageddon onto society and Earth. There's a lot of drama that went on behind the scenes as far as the production of the Justice League is concerned, and within the DCEU studio franchise. Needless to say, Zack Snyder was, depending on which story you believe, whether he left the director's chair in order to grieve for the suicide of his daughter, or he was unceremoniously fired in order for Joss Whedon to come in and complete the work that he had initially started. Again, whatever version you believe, that's completely up to you. I'm not sure where I stand on that, but when it comes right down to it, you can definitely see how the product changed and the shift in tone, how it all occurred when Joss Whedon took over the product in order for it to be completed and to meet cinema standards. When it comes to Justice League, I do understand that there's a lot of people who have this divided reception amongst it. Critics and comic book fans amongst together seem to yield some sort of divided response amongst the finished product. You had a lot of critics and certain fans who felt that Zack Snyder wasn't the right man in order to jumpstart the DCU franchise. They felt that maybe his work was too dark, too serious, that he wasn't a capable storyteller. He's more of a visual director rather than a storytelling director, which I do understand. But when it comes right down to it, Zack Snyder is a visionary, is a visual genius. And his work, the visuals that he has captured amongst the DCEU overall, with Man of Steel, Batman, Superman, and even Justice League. Seriously, the man is a genius when it comes to utilizing a camera and capturing very beautiful imagery that sears into your very soul and mind. But through it all, my opinion on Justice League, I did enjoy the film for what it was, despite the flaws and the behind-the-scenes drama that most of us were privy to when it came to reading various articles and watching videos on YouTube. It could have been better and should have been better. When you have a film that has Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg, and Flash, ideally, it should have been a guaranteed billion-dollar success, much like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Unfortunately, that did not come to fruition, but at the same time, I do believe that there was a bias amongst fans and critics who felt that anything that isn't Marvel should not be given a chance, and anything that wasn't Marvel was continually receiving negative reviews upon negative reviews. And even before certain films were released from the DCEU, it was just once a negative review after negative review after negative review, clickbait articles that just repeated the same story over and over again. Then before you know it, those same people who wanted to give DC a chance heard enough negativity that they didn't want to give it a chance. And that to me is where I guess you could say I just drew the line, because I felt that in order to provide some sort of a fair assessment from the overall perspective of an actual critic, it's very important for that person to formulate his or her own conclusion, and that way he or she can provide a fair assessment before jumping on the bandwagon. But through it all, despite the reshoots, I mean, there were certain times where when I first watched the film that I couldn't necessarily tell where the reshoots were occurring or what happened. It wasn't until through repeated viewings that I noticed, oh, well, Ben Affleck looked really fit and thin and fit and one scene, and the next scene that's supposed to be that's happening a few minutes afterwards, he looks bloated, his hair looks different. Scenes of Aquaman, we could tell it's filmed with a green screen. There's another scene where they're in the Batcave, you could tell that was filmed with a green screen. So it was just one of those things where it was a mess all across the board, but despite the mess, it literally could have been a cinematic disaster. So the fact that it wasn't a cinematic disaster and it was still thoroughly enjoyable from beginning to end, I think it's a testament to not only Zack Snyder's ability, but even Joss Whedon's ability as a director and the actor. So the fact that Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa, Ray Winstone, Henry Cavill, Ezra Haynes, the fact that they were able to, Ben Affleck, the fact that they were able to still, create some form of a product enough that it was still enjoyable is a testament to their talent as well. So I did enjoy it for what it was. It's still fun and entertainment, the action sequences. Through the reshoots, you could definitely tell there was a lot of unnecessary changes there, and the oversaturated colors that they used in order to provide actual color compared to what Zack Snyder did was just still mind-boggling to me. I'll never understand how they made such a mess with that. And of course, everybody is very familiar with the Henry Cavill fiasco, where Warner Brothers DC used CGI in order to remove the mustache that he had simply since he couldn't shave it due to him filming Mission Impossible Fallout, which is a great film, by the way. I do recommend it. But despite all that, Justice League is still very much an enjoyable film. When it comes to Ezra Haynes' Flash, mind you, I'm not a huge Ezra Haynes fan, and I wouldn't have casted him as Barry Allen because I don't view him as Barry Allen. I do. One thing that I do remember, as far as the critics were concerned and even fans, they felt that it was a combination of Wally West and Barry Allen. And while I'm not the biggest Flash fan as far as the comic books are concerned, I do believe that I would have had the CW Flash more integrated with this team, as because they would have just tapped into the multiverse that much sooner rather than later. But I'm not gonna fault Ezra Haynes for that, because again, he's just doing what he was just given the material that he was written that was given to him. But how we went from Batman vs Superman version of Batman to this Batman in Justice League is still mind-boggling to me. I'll never understand that. I wouldn't have went with Steppenwolf as a primary antagonist just because, again, Superman, he's a villain that Superman would just body all by himself. I felt that a much more appropriate antagonist would have been Metallo or Brainiac, or maybe even Doomsday. Rather than using Doomsday and Batman vs Superman, you could have used Doomsday in this scenario instead. Either way, it is what it is. What's done is done. But I did enjoy it for what it was. I think it's still one of those type of films that receives unfair criticism and shouldn't have been as harshly reviewed as it was. But I can't agree that it could have been better. It should have been better. I do believe the universe should have been much more gradually explored rather than rushed into it. But at the same time, I'm able to recognize, as someone who's a critic myself, as someone who is passionate about film, I can recognize that despite its flaws, that I can still find some sense of enjoyment out of it, and I'm not going to base my opinion and try to force it upon anybody else. I'm just simply stating how I felt about it from my own honest perspective. But I do recommend Justice League for what it is. What it does remind me of, it reminds me more of the DC animated films that we have watched throughout the years, and how those are quality films actually. And this reminds me more along the lines of that. I think if you're able to remove your unrealistic expectations of what you expected Justice League to be, and you just view it as just a live action version of an animated DC film, I think you enjoy that much more. But it's still a great film. Very enjoyable. If I had to give it with the final score, I probably have to give it about a 3 out of 5, somewhere up in there, because it definitely is not deserving of a 1 out of 5 or a 2 out of 5 or a 0 out of 5 or -0, what have you. It's definitely not deserving of that. So I do have to give it a 2 thumbs up, 3 out of 5. Very enjoyable. I do recommend it. If anyone who has watched this film and you maybe you feel the same way, maybe you don't, let me know in the comment section what you thought about it. Provide a like if you want to. Let me know on my Facebook page what you thought about it. I'm very much looking forward to hearing your thoughts about it. That is my review of Justice League. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and you'll be hearing from me again, my friends. Take care and peace out.